See, right? So first and foremost, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yoshai, Ba'Shem Kakadash. We say double and say person and a great Muslim rubel our teachers or person should and we say salutations so the Akim so they show in the truth and sincerity day in and day out and constantly in season on the season Mr. Shalom. Once again going into our video here and touching upon this news article right here. Right? Now let's play the video that it's showing, right?
Cuando llueve, que llueve mucho porque eso es Caribe, igual que Miami, igual que...
Alright, now reading the headline from that same video. Right, it says Venezuela's skies turned biblical red following devastating earthquake that shook the country. Stunning footage sparks debate online. Some call it a natural atmospheric phenomenon linked to the quake. Others say it's a sign of prophecies unfolding and dark days ahead. So yeah, and that is the piece I wanted to touch upon. Right, where others say it's a sign of prophecies unfolding and dark days ahead. Because right after the earthquake, right after the earthquake, I believe it was yesterday and the day before, Venezuela went through catastrophic floods. The waters were so high, places were basically getting washed out. Right, all these set of things are happening, and all these things are what prophecies. Right, so that way when you read it, when I read the last piece, it say others say it's a sign of prophecies unfolding and darker days ahead. Yes, we are heading into darker days. Hey, the end is being made manifest. When you look, this is RT News, right, and many other news pages. This is not the only news pages that uses the term biblical when something chaotic happens, right? When some sort of catastrophe happens, they are not the first, or they wouldn't be the last as well to use the term biblical when something happens like this, right? And you see it, you actually seen it, like one or two of the other news pages or even reporters are talking about like when they're putting the headlines for the news, they are putting the words biblical, or they are putting the words prophecies, right? But one of the things they continue to put with those two things is darker days ahead, and that's right. The days ain't going to get better at all. Just as we saw an example, Venezuela, right? A situation, and that situation, they could also put in what's happening in Iran. You see how much people thought the war is going to end, when literally, let me go down right here. Let me go down. Is it here? Did I save it? Where Trump said that? No, I don't think I saved it, but Trump said that he would continue. His plan is to continue going into war with Iran, right? So yes, darker days are ahead, because when you're reading the news, you hear them speaking about the market, right? The market is it's crashing right now, right? You're hearing them talking about look right here, largest U.S. power grid declares emergency to prevent blackouts. This come from Trump. Look right here. Trump officially declares a power emergency for the nation's largest grid ahead of extreme heat waves or blackouts. And the kind of things Esau will be doing with these kind of blackouts. You might see people missing, right? Now let me bring a scripture here. This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 15, verse 1. It says, "Behold, speak down in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I'll put in thy mouth, said the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." Yeah, they are faithful and true. Because all the things written here, it happened, or is going to happen, or is happening, right? It happened, no denying it. That is why, look. So RT, and I believe this other reporter right here, right? I shouldn't say reporter, but someone that does these videos and so forth, say the day has arrived, soon just went dark on earth. So people talking about this, how things getting worse and worse. And when you read the scriptures, yes, the things are going to get worse and worse. The scriptures mention the perilous times. Imagine you're living in Venezuela, right? Went through an earthquake, and after the major earthquakes, it had two other small ones. Then after the other two small ones, then they went through floods, right? Then after the flood, now you're seeing the skies doing what? Changing colors, right? And this is not the only place that are going through these kind of things, right? If you're keeping up with the news, the scripture said to be what? To be occupied in prophecies, and that is how it's supposed to be, and be occupied in prophecies, because we've seen the prophecies play out. That way it say, and cause them to be written in paper, right? For they are faithful and true, right? The earthquakes, the diseases, all these things, right? Look, these great deaths happening all around, whether it be by sickness, whether it be by heat wave, whether it be by disasters, or whatever it may be. What the page, right? Let me just go on it here. Outbreak news, right? You see in the videos coming out, right? So you can't even get a break right now. They're talking about a parasite. Then you talk about the Ebola. Heads up, patient tested for suspected Ebola virus at Glasgow Hospital. Right, and you've seen a whole bunch of another one here. The U.S. Embassy has issued a health alert after reports of a potential Marburg virus disease caused in Western Uganda. So you see, you're hearing about diseases, you're hearing them talking about the spread of it. Right now, you're hearing them talking about blackouts. Right, and if you read some of the, can I read some of the comments here? Sorry, as in here, where was the particular comment I read? Right. So this person posted, should we be preparing for some kind of shutdown? No, reports of the power grid attacks. 6-month prep should be disregarded. While attacks do occur, we are safeguarded by a black eye. So this was just somebody posting something from our Q side, right? And it's from since 2018, right? From since 2018. Right, so you're seeing people talking about it right here. So going back in the script here, it says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imagination against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Let me look up this word here. Right. So incredulity. It's incredulity is a state of being unwilling or unable to believe something is true. It is essentially a strong feeling of disbelief. It often occurs when someone is confronted with shock, surprising, or extraordinary information that contradicts what they expect. Right? It contradicts what they expect. And what Jake's expecting is good times. So when you're telling them about, the dark days ahead, or you're telling them about how hard it's going to be, right? Death and destruction, these things, the incredulity comes in, the disbelief, right? That things going to get worse, right? But these news sites continue to say, they continue to pay it out. Dark days ahead, prophecies unfolding, right? Prophecies unfolding, right? That way, it's incredulity is the state of being unwilling or unable to believe something is true, and that is the thing about it. They unbelief in what? In the Lord. The unbelief in the prophecies, in the scriptures, right? It is essentially a strong feeling of disbelief. It often occurs when someone is confronted with shocking, surprising, or extraordinary information that contradicts it. It contradicts what they expect, and their expectation is for these things not to happen, right? But the unbelief in stopping nothing, right? It say, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. And how shall it die? It coming up here. Behold, said the Lord, I'll bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Now, it's an important thing to go on. That is, again, the scripture is mentioned to be occupied in prophecies, right? Because you're seeing all these things happening right now. The sword, the death coming from every side. You're seeing the wars continue to build up, right? Just on the top, just the top of my head, Ukraine, Russia, what's happening in the Middle East, China, Taiwan, and UK in the mix, all these things, right? Things unfolding, right? As I say here, others say it's a sign of prophecies unfolding, yes, right? It say, I'll bring plagues upon the world. And who said that? The Lord. Behold, said the Lord, I'll bring plagues upon the world. The sword, famine, death, and destruction. And that's what's going to unfold. So darker days ahead, yes, it's going to get darker. Because now, a country like Venezuela, that was already going through all these problems, all these prior problems that they had. Now they're going through earthquake, buildings fall down, no current, no none of this, floods they take place, right? Now the oil dropping, right? Lack of food, you're hearing about shortages worldwide, even in the island here, right? Even in the island, we the government already put out an article stating that what it already done, where chicken raised, right? The price of chicken has risen, and what caused it to rise was a shortage, right? There's a shortage of chicken. So, hey, one thing these jigs will understand is that they're saying, nah, well, don't worry about that, and their mindset, they just it, that small thing. But what they do realize is that everything is going to get worse, right? From one shortage is going to happen to everything else. Because once you have a shortage of chicken, when you feel it, do have a shortage of other stuff? Yes, it does have a shortage of other stuff, right? So going back to the scripture, it say the sword, famine, death, and destruction, and we've seen that, right? All these things happening, right? And it's going to get worse, right? It's going to get worse. If you say for wickedness had exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled, right? And the hurtful works are fulfilled, right? So this is the things coming. So are they right? Yes, right? The prophecies unfolding and darker days ahead. Way worse days are coming, right? Way worse days. This might be a part one, and I do a part two. I might do a part two to it because I had to head to work, and I just wanted to touch upon this because, as you can see, hey, all these people talking about the end and the signs, the prophecies, the things that happening, right? So with that, once again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. We say, double honor, apostle, and a great most and rule, our teachers, our apostles in the truth, and we say salutations, so the archim, so they push you with no truth and sincerity, day in and day out, and constantly in season, or the season, we say shalom.